Hello and welcome to this course on Blender 2.8, and after that my name is Heikki Hietala, and I thought I'd make you a little video just to show you what the workflow is in Blender. You don't have to worry about not understanding anything that you see, just follow the presentation and see how I create a small room scene. So I'll start with the default cube, and I want to lose the roof or the ceiling because I don't need that. Delete face, and also need to delete the front face so that I have a room to work with. And I'll scale it down on the Z-axis first. Like so. And I will then see the dimensions. Maybe I'll scale it on the Z up a little. Somewhere like there. So I will now add a couple of pieces of furniture. Scale it up so that I have a room to work with. And to make a table, I would need just a cube. So I will add a cube, move it up, scale it down the Z-axis, and then scale it on the Y-axis to make it a little wider. Maybe that might be a nice size. I'll actually lose this wall as well, just so that I have more space to work with. Then I'll make the legs for the table by selecting the table, going into edit mode, adding a couple of loop rings, and scaling the loop rings on the Y-axis, like so. Doing the same again, but then going this way, and scaling on the X-axis, because this will give me scale the X a little down. Okay. This gives me a couple of faces that I can use to extrude legs for the table. Okay, and then I'll just rotate the table on its Y-axis for 180 degrees and bring it up to the floor. It's not on the floor. Just bring it down until it is actually on the floor. Okay. I'll make it a slightly wider though. Scale on the X. So this would be our dining table. It's still in the air, so I can go closer, grab and move the Z-axis until it passes through the floor there. I could also use snap, but I'll just do it the quick and dirty way. Now I'll add a couple of chairs by adding another cube, going back on the X-axis and then scaling it down the Z-axis to give me the seat. Maybe that would be a good size, yeah. And as before, I will add a couple of loop rings, scale on the Y-axis, and a loop ring here, and scale on the X-axis. Now I can have my four. I'll just hide this for a second so I can see it below. Select the faces, 1, 2, 3, 4, and extrude down to have the legs of the chair. And I can turn back on my floor. I'll actually call this room. And I'll call this the table because it's much easier later to reference them. And this is chair. And if you have a chair, you probably want to have a backrest. So I'll extrude a backrest from here. Grab and move that on the X direction a little. And maybe extrude one more part. So looks rather nice. And just for the heck of it, I will select this face and use the inset tool to give me a scale on the Z, so I can have a little padding on my back if I want it, just for the future reference, so to speak. So I'll just grab it and bring it up. Until it passes the floor, like so. And then I'll just go to my top view, which is number 7, and see make a couple of copies. So Shift D, and select both of them, and Shift D, and rotate 180 here, and move them here under the table, and move this under the table. I don't want to be too accurate with the alignments because it doesn't look regular. So I'll just do another Z and go back in the solid mode. So this would be my dining room, and it looks like this with just one lamp. If I move the lamp around, you can see the effect on the environment here. But if I add another lamp, add another point lamp, and move it here and move it X direction, then in the Y direction, and turn on some power to it. 1000 watts, oh that's too much. 500 watts will be too nice. Yeah. So with 2 lamps in here, this is beginning to look okay. The next thing you want to have would be the kitchen sink, or the kitchen, where you make the food and stuff. So I'll just make a rudimentary cupboard here. Get another cube. Move it here close to the wall. Starts to go through the wall at some point. So I'll scale it on the X direction, scale it in the Y direction, and now it looks okay. Move it on the X until it meets the wall. Right there. And then I'll just, there's many ways that you could use here so that you could have it look nice, but I'll just quickly make a bunch of these. So Shift D and move on the Y direction. Shift D and move on the Y direction. I could use an array modifier. It would be easier to use because it would have the distances between the cupboards exactly right all the time, but I'll just do it a quick and dirty way. And to make a copy of these, Shift D all of these, and rotate on the Z axis for 90 degrees. And then move them on the Y direction until they meet the wall. Somewhere there, I think should be okay. Okay, so they're slightly lower than the other ones. I'll just move them in the Z direction. Right. And then I need a kitchen table. Not the table, but the workspace for the kitchen. Get another cube. I'll put it here. Scale down a little, it's too high. Scale on the Y, and then move it under the with the 3 view. I should be able to put it in the right place rather easily, like so. Yeah, this is fine, and then move it on the X into the corner, or scale on the X actually, like so. So this would be your workspace. I'll just make a copy of this, by the way. Shift D and move in the Z direction and scale down on the Z, because this can be my the workplace where I have where I do all my cooking. So I'll just move it down on the Z direction a little, because I can have this can be one material and this can be some other material on the top. Okay, so this is rather looking semi-okay, at least for this purposes of this presentation. So I will now go and do the walls for this, and the floor, of course. So to do that, you need to have materials. So I'll create one material called floor, and I'll make another material called walls, and I'll make a third material called cabinets, and yet another one called my stone surface. Okay. So all I have to do now is to apply transforms to all of these. This is something you need to do whenever you have created a piece. You can just do a transform to it. It makes it easier for you to work with later on. So that's a Control A on all transforms. And even for the room, you need to do a transformation. So, okay, now let me, just for the purposes of this presentation, I will quickly use this. I'll use this. Which part did I have selected when I was doing the materials? Oh yeah, this one. So this is actually, all of these are different pieces, so I don't need the materials here. I just need one in here. And this is called cabinet. I'll just make it a slightly blue color, like so. And I will let it to be rather specular, so it has reflections on it. And then I'll copy all of this into all of the other materials. Oh, not this one. This one, this one, this one, and this one. And here I can copy the material by pressing Ctrl L and materials. This one doesn't actually have to have it. So before I do that, I will select just the cabinets. And then the last one has the material, and copy the materials over. So now they look like so. And this one here is going to be called stone surface. So I will add a texture to it. So instead of base color, I will say image texture. And when I open the texture from my patterns, where I have all kinds of materials that I have collected over the years, somewhere here I have granite. Let's see where I had it. All right, it's here. Big granite image, and apply that. And if I now go closer to my table, I should see how it looks. Yeah, it looks fine, but it doesn't look nice. That's because it's now on linear, and it has to be cubic, and it has to be cubic here on the box as well. And I will also have to have it vectored from generated. Actually, what I'll do, I will go into UV mapping and apply a smart UV project to this. And since that, I can use UV mapping on it. Okay. And to make it look even better, I go to my shading node, system, and here between those two nodes, I will add a mapping texture. Mapping node. So now I can adjust this one here so that it starts to look nice. Yeah, it looks okay. For the floor, I will do a different material, but as before, it has not a base color, but it has a texture. So I'll say Shift A, add an texture, image texture, open Blender Patterns, Best Cherry. For some reason it's called Best Cherry, and this one goes into the base color. Now all of these walls now have it, so I go back to my materials here, call this floor. Go into edit mode and only assign it to the floor. Then when I make another material called walls, I can have a different set of settings for that. For example, the texture is again an image texture, but it is not going to be the same as in the floor. Instead, it's going to be somewhere down here. I have a wallpaper. Yes. Connect that to the color, base color, and in here to have a vector. Input texture coordinate generated. Go back to here, select this, and then assign my wall node. Yeah, doesn't look nice, but that's because it doesn't have the right UV mapping. And now that I have the UV mapping, I can add a mapping node in here, with which I can set this up to 20 and 20. And that gives me a nice wallpaper-y look. Yeah. Okay, so all that remains is a color for this table. I just give it a color because I don't have a nice texture available. Turn it somewhere like so. And for the chairs, I can use another base color. It's kind of like IKEA type of colors. I'll copy this material across the other ones. And it looks like so. So now if I go to my camera view and go to my tool shelf and turn on my lock camera to view, I can then come out of the view that I had and make it look nice. And then when I have it exactly as I want, I can go to my render settings, turn on my render setting EEVEE and press F12. And I will have a quick picture of my room. This is how my room looks now. Of course, this is not what I would actually want to do. And as you can see, this is the chair is up in the air, and the table is up in the air, and it's missing floorboards, and it's missing a sink, and it's missing all these kinds of bits and pieces. But as you can see, within a couple of minutes, you can easily create things that are completely usable as starting points for your work. So if you go back to your layout view and you add a cube down here, just click the add a cube, scale it down all the way down, then scale it on the x-axis like so, and then move it so that it's under the cabinet, you can't really see it, and then move it on the y-axis to get it into the room like so, down a little, Now, if you give this a new type of material, emission material, and then you can set the color to a slightly yellow color like so, and you can set its strength to 10, and you can now go to the other render engine, which is Cycles, and once it stops being like a pointillistic, well, why don't I actually render the image here so you can see what happens. So I will turn on the render engine, and it's going to take a lot of time to render. So I will pause the recording for a while. Crashing there with my laptop trying to render something with lights as complex as this, it does crash, but this is the result that I got from there. So you can see that I don't have any, even though I still have the other lamps, but I turned them down, you can now see that there's a nice lighting effect down here under the cabinet where I had the light bar. You can see it here in the other one. This is what it looks like in with the Blender, no sorry, Cycles rendering engine, and this is how it looks when you set it to EEVEE. So EEVEE is nice for quick and dirty stuff, but when you want to see how it's going to actually look in Cycles when you render it, you have to turn on Cycles, and then it's going to take a while to show you how it's going to look. But basically you use EEVEE for working because it shows you the shadows and it shows you the materials and everything. It's excellent compared to the old one, which is known as Blender Internal. But now we have Cycles and EEVEE to work with. So this enables us to make much nicer images much faster than we used to. So this was just a quick demo, and everything that I've shown you here will be covered in the course at some point, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Just remember that whenever you come across something that you don't get, just go to Moodle and drop me a note using the questions and answers discussion board, and then everybody can see what the question was and what I answered to you. And also later on, you may be able to provide answers to other people. It would be very nice if you did, so that we could have a two-way discussion going there with people helping each other as well, because I can't be there all the time. So welcome to the course again, and I hope you'll enjoy working with Blender. I have to say that it has changed my world since I started doing this in 2012, that 8 years ago, and I have so much fun. I've had so much fun with Blender, first with these renderings, and then when I got the 3D printer, then I was having fun with the printer. So welcome to the course and welcome to Blender.